Welcome back. I hope our participants are also keeping up with us on YouTube. We can get ready and start to our second panel. It will be about enterprise and inclusion too. The moderator will be Giuseppina Bomba from CPA Italy.
Hello. Hello, Elif. Nice to see you again. I need also the moderator, Gabriella Lamorgia and Cecilia D'Angelo.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody. Well, buongiorno, good day, good morning, good tag, and wherever you else come from. Welcome to our panel where we're discussing enterprise, a tool of inclusion. Let me just introduce briefly ourselves. We are Connect Abruzzo, also CPA in Italy, central Italy, in Abruzzo, a beautiful region. And we do a lot of courses on entrepreneurship and empowerment of young people. We have wanted to discuss enterprise. Is it really a tool of inclusion? And want to take you with us on a journey which takes you to a beautiful past, a more present, and hopefully a glorious future. So let us start. Do we want to ask ourselves if inclusion is a modern concept or if we have this concept already in the past? So what do you think, Cecilia and Gabi? Do we have any examples?
Well, yes, I think so. From what I know, we have the example of the beautiful city of Venice here in Italy, which can be considered as an example of how migrants contributed to the city's well-being and were able to develop themselves, isn't it? Now, let's ask to our special guest today, Signora Giusy.
Hello, I'm Madame Giusy from Venice. We are in the late Middle Ages of Venice, and Venice is such a vibrant city. You should all come and visit. We have people from all over the world, people from all over which bring their trade, which bring their knowledge, their language, but also their food. And I tell you, we live much better now. Of course, you know, it takes a bit of time because at the moment we 120,000 inhabitants in Venice, from which a third, so around 40,000, are not from Venice. They are migrants which escaped different wars and different social injustices. So they all came to Venice and we give them refuge. But to live all together, it needs regulation and it needs a structure. We have a lot of confraternitas which welcome those people and makes them feel at home. We don't want them not to speak their language or to have their religion. But of course, when we're living together, we teach them also how we Venetian would do things. And who can just forget our well-deserved merchant and servant? We only owe them are 13,000. And because we respect them that much, we have a special way of calling them. We say, ciao nostra.
Is that our ciao of today?
Well, yes, I think so. So the word ciao, which is the most renewed greeting in Italy, comes from the use they made of in Venice. So it's really unusual to see how this word now became the most used here in Italy and also in other parts of the world. But now let's continue with Signora Giusy.
Oh, I'm back. How are you? So let me tell you something else about our beautiful Venice. I mean, you know, we have a lot of good goods, but if we didn't have the immigrants from Mongolia, from the east, but also from our poor mainland, which, my God, they're always at war at the time. They can't keep peace, even if they wanted to. But, you know, we welcome them. So I tell you, the most fantastic thing is the new food we have and my glasses. Oh my God, my next party is so fantastic because there is those wonderful, wonderful glasses of this artisan. I mean, we already had our own glass makers, which again, they came from the Roman Empire because, you know, as I said, they have to fight about something. They can't just be happy, but they came from the Roman Empire and settled here. But when the Eastern people came, they escaped, of course, from Constantinople, because again, there was a siege there, poor people, but my God, the artisans of the glass were fantastic. And the marriage of both, well, see for yourself. My next party will be a complete success with the bead I will wear and the glasses of Murano, which I will present to my guests. The wine tastes definitely better in it. However, you know what we did? It's because, you know, the confraternita has created a proper trade deal also with the places there in Warwick. But, you know, let's be not quiet about it. But, you know, the confraternita teaches them how to make business and marriages, not just of people, but of art and of entrepreneurship has created this new industry. So what we did a few years ago, we sent them outside the center of Venice for two reasons, really. Well, the first reason, you know, they use fire and very hot fire, and it could burn our beautiful buildings, and we wouldn't want that. But secondly, it's much easier to keep our secret because, you know, we don't want anybody to copy what we just in Venice have managed to do. Combine the East with our own people. Well, they were migrants too, but they're now Venetians and we appreciate them. And they see themselves now as Venetians. So tell me, does it still exist in your time?
But is she speaking about the famous Murano glass?
Yes, absolutely. The famous Murano glass are known worldwide and they can be considered as the business card of our Made in Italy. People from all over the world come especially to Venice to buy them. These glasses are also very important for the local and Italian economy, with a value of more than 165 million euros per year.
Thank you.
Now,
Signora Giusy, please tell us about red velvet and sling.
Oh, is there, oh, this is beautiful picture. Yes, look, I'm wearing some lace. Oh, you know, again, well, if Marco Polo had not gone to Mongolia, you know, it's very far away, and it was a horrendous journey, very dangerous. But, you know, now there is a good trade road which take us there, and he brought back some very peculiar, tiny little worms. You know, women used to wear them in their breast. Can you believe this? But, you know, and never mind, they're wrapped with these worms, which create this beautiful, absolutely delicious silk. And then Lucca, what can I say about Lucca? Again, a region just not far from here. Again, they fight. And these poor people have to find somewhere else to come. So they come to our beautiful lagoon, the lagoon, and they've created this new thing. It's very highly regulated. We have inspectors everywhere. I mean, this is a secret because we created this red and luxurious velvet, which every king and queen wants to wear now. But we know how to do it. And we don't want these secrets to be gone all over. But we will sell it to everybody, no problem. It's a pleasure to sell it to anybody who wants to have it. But it has to be regulated because regulation is very important and it's respect. We respect each other. And therefore, the silk is so beautiful. But we are thankful to Marco Polo and to the refugees which came from Lucca, which then created the velvet. And I still think the best weavers and, you know, color painters are still the one from Lucca. They're just excellent. But don't be fooled. Everybody is welcome to work in this industry, but it takes years of dedication and training. And the confraternita have training all over. And if you get accepted by them, it means you have to be dedicated to the velvet and to this industry.
Oh, I saw that nowadays the collection of Armani, Versace, and Dolce & Gabbana are using velvet. It Velvet was the theme of the 2018 collections.
Can you show me? I cannot see it.
This is how velvet is used today. Velvet is one of the many pieces we offer in the high fashion of Italy. Italy fashion industry is really one of the most important industry in our countries, with a value of more than 60 billion euros per year and a contribution of 1.2 to our yearly GDP. But now let's continue our trip. Let's see what Signora Giusy has to say to us.
Fantastic.
So, the velvet you have looks fantastic, but I tell you, the best invention is still Marco Polo. He went to Mongolia and he went through China and he brought back this tool and he makes this long thing. I mean, it's created with our good wheat, which we cultivate in the lagoon. But we used to do bread with it, and now they create this long, it's called pasta or bigolli, and it's long, but it's so delicious. And you know, my servant, which comes from Constantinople, has created this dish, my goodness me, some cheese, some Parmesan cheese with something called pepper. It's this little thing, and you ground it. I mean, my God, the taste. No wonder I have put a lot of kilos on. I need to go and stop eating because in other case, the next Carnevale of Venice, I will not be able to wear the dress which I wanted to do. But then maybe you can still sort of like enjoy it even with your friends and nothing else. The pasta is so delicious and it's eaten and it's also the poor people can do it because you don't need much, you need only water and a bit of wheat, and we make sure that in the confraternita everybody has something to eat, because it's important if you want motivated workers to have people which have been fed. It's not good having servant merchants or anybody, especially if they have to do the hard work of creating glass or velvet, which are hungry. This is just not good.
But do they still do the bigoli in Venice?
Yes, absolutely. As you know, pasta is the most remarkable characteristic of Italy. 1/4 of the pasta that we consume today is produced here by more than 200 pasta factories all over our country. Pasta consume really increased in the last few years, and especially last year, with an increase in consumes of 3.5%.
Thank you, Gabi. That was a very good journey. Hello, Giusy. Welcome back to today, to the present.
Oh, hello. Yes, it was a very good journey in the past. And I hope all our people which are here on our live feed enjoyed it. So we wanted to use a little bit of a storytelling activity to show you how actually entrepreneurship as a tool in inclusion is not really a modern concept, but in Italy itself, we had this entrepreneurship in the medieval times, but the impact is still felt today, and it will be continuing to be felt in the future. So our conclusion really is that entrepreneurship has an impact through the centuries, which a lot of people might not understand, but like the Venetian, the Venetian had a good way of having a system which was very inclusive, and it's still a prosperous city today. And we only chose 3 of them trade routes which they established and the sectors. But actually, if you go into the history of Venice, you will find many more sectors which are still active all over the world, not just on an Italian base, and bring prosperity and work to people. But now, what is now? So we have seen the past. So now what we have done, we said, well, we would like to include some other people and discuss with them, well, what is the situation now? It's always difficult for trainers. Me, myself, I'm a trainer, and also Gabby and Cecilia, to motivate people, you know, how do we motivate young people? How do we motivate young people with migrant background? How do we motivate anybody? And what is important for young migrant entrepreneurship inclusion, which then creates prosperity in business. So we interviewed some leading figures in this situation, and we would like to introduce to you Mr. Zuffi Elaideo, which is himself a very successful entrepreneur and a business mentor, and he's a founding member of Entrepreneur Future Network, which is a network which helps young people, but especially young people with migrant entrepreneurship background, to set up their own business. And also Alessandra Cugnetto, which is a member of La Caritas Diocesana in Italy, in Calabria, and she's a founding member of Integrazione Calabria, which deals with integrating migrants into the social aspect of life, which means work and everything else. So we asked them a few questions, and here goes. Let's hear them.
I'm Alessandra Cugnetto. I live in La Mezze Terme, the little city in the south Italy, and I have a degree in international science. In this period, I'm a manager of a little association, a cultural association, Integrazione Calabria, and I'm working for many charities organizations for the migrants.
I'm Zuffi, the co-founder of BizGs. We transform refugees into entrepreneurs using fintech. We focus on post-conflict communities in the developing world, but the approach we take also supports the community where we are based as well. So our impact over the last 4 years has been in Asia, Africa, Europe, and America.
The most important factors to be considered are anthropological and cultural aspect. We have to know the migrants project, a personal migrants project. We have to know in which part of the personal migrants project the migrants is. And above all, we have to know if he wants to become an entrepreneur. And we have to know his or her cultural tools. I mean, understand his religion, understand his education, understand which kind of family he or she has, if a traditional family or modern families.
I think entrepreneurs should consider, people should consider entrepreneurs to be risk takers and the capacity to take risk and deal with uncertainty. So that is the core of what it means to be an entrepreneur. So if you look at, say, what the difference between someone working for someone else and someone setting up their own business, the biggest difference is that the person setting up their own business is taking a risk, is doing something that either hasn't been done before or is taking additional responsibilities that an employee doesn't have to take. So so the risk factor and the uncertainty factor of whether it's going to work or not, or whether of how it's going to work is quite important.
We have to motivate the people, about all when we speak about young refugees. We have using interesting topics close to the practical life and transfers arguments on how they could improve their life in the host country, how they can design their life through the new skills. I suggest also including topics of Italian culture, for example, the actually migrants law. And it is very important to work in team with the mediator, cultural mediators, in each step of the training. And about the method, I can suggest to use alternate face-to-face lesson with working workshops or with meeting with local entrepreneurs as soon as possible near to their business plan.
I would recommend that when working with migrants or refugees, to be sensitive about the language barrier, the culture barrier, but also the mental health needs as well. Because a lot of the refugees coming from conflict communities have post-traumatic stress disorder, and that is usually undiagnosed. So taking in the mental health factor is as important as anything else.
I believe that Europe and Italy offer young people many economic opportunities. In Europe, the migrants have more opportunities than in their country because the economic and social condition of the migrants' country are not so good, and because they can't promote their social development. I think they are more motivated than Italian people because they have more opportunities here. And the Italian people many times don't understand that they are very lucky.
Young people, they bring a fresh perspective. So the old saying is that kids get institutionalized into thinking in a conformist way. So if they can bring that originality before they get ingrained into conformity to the business and make it innovative and being focused on the innovation. Migrants, on the other hand, are coming in from the outside, so they see the bigger picture in a different way to the way we are embedded inside it. So, for instance, if someone's looking at what you're doing from the outside, they'll see things that you from the inside don't, and that's a standard diverse thinking mindset that migrants tend to bring. To give you an example, when I used to mentor postgraduate students and staff at King's College London, one of the BCs who was giving the talk said that 50% of his capital was invested in first-generation migrants because they tended to see things differently and take risks and take uncertainty and we just look for gaps in the market that we take for granted.
I can tell you about Idada's story. Idada, she is a Nigerian woman. She arrived to Italy in 2014 by boat, and she was a victim of some human traffickers. When she arrived in an accommodation center, she denounced them, and she fell in love with a man. She became pregnant, but her boyfriend left her, and he went to Spain. During the first period, she was so depressed, but thanks to the work of the operators, she have confidence in herself, and she began to study Italian language and to believe in her dream. She decided to work in an Italian restaurant. Now she is living in Milan. She has her little flat with her beautiful son. And now she has a new dream to have her own restaurant, African and Italian restaurant.
There was an Australian woman who moved to the UK. She was a trained hairdresser, but she didn't want to open up a traditional hair salon. So I used to offer informal advice to other entrepreneurs, and she was one of the beneficiaries of that advice. Along this, one of the conversations we had was using technology, and this led her to using to accepting payment in Bitcoin. And now the payment she received in Bitcoin is quite a large amount, just by virtue of holding on to that currency. So it's quite inspirational how someone is doing a daily task like hairdressing, but using technology, and that technology is enabling her to not just earn a decent living, but to capitalize on these new trends in cryptocurrency, for instance.
The ability to be successful entrepreneurs is very much linked to the ability to live inclusively in a society. It means to stay in the middle of the people of the host country, to live with them, to look for the opportunities. But we have to be lucky to meet the people who give you these opportunities. So depend on the project, where do you live, in the city, where do you live? And it's very important to understand the law of our country, because it's important to respect the people and the society where do you live.
Economic inclusion is as important as social inclusion. So if we look at some of the biggest concerns with inclusion is to do with wealth and job creation. If people aren't working, they automatically become socially excluded. So economic inclusion is as vital as social inclusion. Entrepreneurship is a great mechanism to help people earn a living for themselves and create jobs for others around them. So that helps them maintain their living standards, if not improve them, but also support other people through job creation as well.
The story of Samuel Reda. Samuel Reda is an Egyptian boy. Now he's a man. He was arrived in Italy in 2014 by boat after some kind of religious persecution. He is a Christian in Egypt. And now he's a little entrepreneur, and he has his little shisha shop where he can sell shisha, the legal smoke, and he sells also the little object from Egypt. It's very important because when he was in SPRAR project, began to study very hard Italian language. He was lucky because he did the little training about the economic system and understand that he can be able to do something more. And so he began to work in the supermarket, and when he has the money, ask help of the local institution to open his little shop. Now, because of the coronavirus, he is closed, but it was a very good, successful example for our project.
Over the last 10 years, we supported 2,000 entrepreneurs in London, and I would say over 60% of them were first-generation migrants. So these are first-generation university students, all the way through to second, third career people who had moved to the UK, either from Europe or from Australia or from the US or Canada, across Africa and Asia as well. So most of the time they don't fit into the system because they're new to the system. So instead of trying to underemploy themselves, they set themselves up in business of some kind. And that then allows them to earn a decent living while they settle into society, basically.
I think that the institutions and the organizations should make information more accessible about the economic aid for migrants. Sometimes the person doesn't know how he can begin, which kind of step he has to do, where to go to ask information. So we have to make easy the life, and we have to transfer them not only our culture, but to look for the way to stay together, also to build the opportunities.
In my opinion, entrepreneurship is much more common among the Latin countries in Europe than the Northern European countries, and that places the Latin countries in a much better stead going forwards, because a lot of the old industrial structures are breaking down. So in the Latin countries, entrepreneurship is a much more normal experience, and if we can somehow capitalize on that and scale that up, that would put these countries in a much better position from a wealth generation perspective.
Hello, we're back. Well, that was quite interesting. Capitalize. I agree. We need to capitalize on the new influx of knowledge of people and on everything they bring with it. And also for us trainer, it's very important to motivate people. We need to find ways which are not the traditional way of teaching, of making people understand. So use your imagination. Be a bit crazy. It doesn't hurt. Now, I wish them well. Also the samples of Andata and Samuel Loreda, and also the hairdresser. Who would have known I can pay now a hairdresser with Bitcoins? It's very interesting. But let's see what other people have to say. We have other two experts, Michael Reber, which is the founder of the Swiss NGO, Swisssuch, which supports the refugee in the Greek refugee camps. And we have also Federica Casciato, which is a teacher trainer herself at the moment, but she was with the Italian government. She was in the refugee camp and supported migrants and refugees there. So let's see what we can learn from their experience. Let's go.
I'm Federica Casciato. I'm graduated in Islamic Studies at the Oriental University in Naples more than 10 years ago. I studied and worked in different Islamic countries like Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Lebanon in the field of international communication as language assistant and cultural advisor. In some of these countries, I had also the opportunity to meet and work with migrants and refugees. At the moment, I'm working in Italy as language teacher in a public high school.
My name is Michael Raber. I come from Switzerland. I'm a full-time dad, and the last 5 years I was as a private solidarity helper on the Balkan route and in Greece.
According to my opinion, by the side of trainers, one of the most important factors to be considered is the willingness to look for people that, first of all, have an idea to put in practice. Then, it is also important to consider the strength, the tenacity, and the conviction of the potential entrepreneur. At the same time, a good trainer should also consider the local system and the related features, as well as the cultural experiences that each potential entrepreneur could bring with him.
I believe that only few people have the talent to be an entrepreneur, so I think you should have a very strong selection. It's the strongest one who will be successful and employ the good ones in the middle management and create job for the average ones. So do a strong selection, compete, let them compete, and filter the candidates.
Starting from my personal experience, I can say that refugees in general need to be considered as human, first of all, as people with a personal background coming from foreign countries with own rules, language, education system, and so on. At the same time, they bring with them, in most cases, the wartime atrocities and the denial of basic human rights. This is why I'm strongly convinced that the right key to open the entrepreneurial potential of a refugee, man or woman, is the human key. Only at a later time we can start to teach and transfer them knowledges. In some cases, we should learn from their stories and appreciate their skills.
My suggestion is that you keep in eye their socio-economical surroundings. So if they're hungry, they will not be able to study. If they have to queue in lines for their own administrative problems, they will not be able to study. So you need some sort of umbrella. You need to give them perks and to care for them as long as they study with you.
Of course, I think that young people are suitable to become entrepreneurs. Just because to start this path is really important, in my opinion, to be creative, open-minded, internationally minded, why not? In order to develop original ideas, entrepreneurial projects need a sort of risk-taking, and I think that young people are strong on this, especially refugees or migrants that are already experienced it and able to face any kind of issues.
I think young migrants are very suitable to become entrepreneurs because they already represent a selection of people who showed initiative, who took risks, overcame successfully struggles. So they have the potential to develop a strong will, and that's what you're looking for in a good entrepreneur.
Oh yeah, when I was in South Lebanon as peacekeeper in the UNIFIL mission with the Italian army, I had the opportunity to know people from Syria. In 2016, they were escaping from the Daesh war. Lots of women and children arrived in our military base asking for healthcare. Since I was able to speak Arabic, I helped the medical staff as interpreter for communication. And what can I say? It was one of the greatest experiences in my life. The eyes of those women who had lost everything but not yet the hope are still in my heart.
When I worked with migrants, I became inspired every time when I put responsibility into the hands of these peoples themselves. Every time we try to enable someone to offer their own potential, the outcome was vastly successful. So I would really advertise for an approach like this.
I think that is more or less a mutual exchange. I'm going to explain this crazy idea. I believe that entrepreneurial projects could give a very important second chance to refugees or migrants, offering them the opportunity to learn how to convert an idea to job. But at the same time, I think that we should start to consider these people as a value that can help our society to improve in the inclusion field and to learn that the most important thing to have a good job position is the willingness and the strong belief that giving up can never ever be an option.
Again, money. Money is the only religion in the whole world that everybody believes in. So if you become a successful entrepreneur, this gives you some sort of priesthood in that religion, and this will better your chance of getting inclusion in any society that you live in. The more money you have, the more accepted you'll be. Successful stories about entrepreneurs beside of like Apple, Uber, Pfizer, SpaceX, AstraZeneca. I could say we have a lot of examples in Switzerland where I do business with migrants that have very nice businesses. From the people I met in the last 5 years, I just know one guy who was very successful. He was already a successful businessman at home. He was very hardworking, empathic, ready to impose power if he needed. And he made more money in these 3 years than I made in my life. So congratulations to him.
And at the end, I would like to share my personal opinion concerning migrants or refugees projects. Our society needs to broaden its narrow view in order to believe that refugees should be actively encouraged to provide services that not only generate income and make job opportunities available, but also directly serve their communities and benefit those in need. This is just my point of view.
My final consideration is do a workshop and let people present their business plans and do a competition. Take the winners and do a training with them. Get again a business plan. and let them compete, and then take again the winners and give them business angels and a platform where they can raise investments. I think that's a path to create entrepreneurs.
Well, thank you very much to all four, to Michael, Federica, Zuffi, and Alessandra. There were very good thoughts there. One, let's give responsibility. Let's enable everybody, young people, especially young people with migrant background, to actually become active member of our European society, and we will all just benefit from it. Thank you for being in this panel. I hope you enjoyed.